Right, we begin here with this developing story. Deputy President David Mabuza won't be sworn in as Member of Parliament today. His decision is in the light of an investigation by the ANC's Integrity Commission into his conduct. Reporter Samgele Masego joins us live now from Cape Town, just outside of Parliament. Samgele, good morning to you. Firstly, I want to put this to you that you've been speaking to some senior members of the party. What have they said in reaction to David Mabuza's last-minute pullout, if you like? It's a postponement for the time being.
Indeed, Xoli, I've just gotten off the phone with the ANC's SG Ace Magashule, who is saying that it's a postponement for now. There's no definite answer. It is issues that will be ironed out by the ANC's National Executive Committee and the ANC's top six. For now, it's a top six. It's an internal issue. It's a postponement. They're going to deal with it in time and reach a conclusion or a resolution on this particular matter of the postponement of the swearing in of the Deputy President of the African National Congress. It's been the Deputy President of the country, particularly after the recall of former President Jacob Zuma. I'm going to throw straight to Zizi Godwa, who's the head of the presidency in the ANC. Mr. Godwa, what is the actual status of your Deputy President, David Mabuza? Is he basically moving out of the executive? There's been murmurs that he wants to leave. Is this the steps of him moving out?
Good morning, Samkelo. Thank you very much for allowing us to clarify the statement. Firstly, you must remember we have accepted and agreed to the request of the Deputy President of the ANC to postpone his swearing in today in the 22nd. And it is important to do so because in the past, it's not the first time that a member designate has requested his or her postponement, or swearing in to be postponed. Both in the 5th and the 4th administration, we've had a number of MPs making such a request, and both the party and Parliament agreed to, and they are sworn in later. And we don't think that must be linked to a position of a Deputy President, because a position of a Deputy President and the Deputy President of the ANC, two separate positions. The fact that he's the Deputy President of the ANC is not a guarantee or guarantor of a position of the Deputy President of the Republic.
Mr. Zizi Godwa, you are speaking, when you look at the historical context of your own organization, when former President Nelson Mandela was the President of the country, Thabo Mbeki was the Deputy President. When Thabo Mbeki was the President of the ANC, with Mhlanganyelwa being the Deputy President, he was the Deputy President of the country until he was recalled or fired by former President Thabo Mbeki. The same happened with Kgalema Motlanthe. When he was Deputy President to Jacob Zuma, he was Deputy President. Why are you now saying that it does not guarantee you to be Deputy President of the country when you're Deputy President of the ANC? Are you effectively saying Mabuza is not coming back as the Deputy President of the country?
I must also add you on your list, I think there are two occasions you forget. That a Deputy President of the country, there was an occasion, an incident where he was not a Deputy President of the ANC. Mama Phumzile Mlambo Ncuka and Comrade Baleka Mbete, they were not Deputy President of the ANC, and yet they were Deputy President of the Republic. Because the only position in terms of the ANC resolutions is guaranteed of that is that of the President. That the President of the ANC shall be the preferred candidate of the President of the Republic. The rest, even from the Deputy President downwards, can only be on the prerogative of the President. Nobody in the African National Congress, by virtue of your position, be it in the National Executive Committee or anywhere else, you are guarantor of any deployment of any position in the executive, be it the executive or deployment in any level.
Are there any talks to have a separate Deputy President of the country, separate from the Deputy Presidency of the ANC? There have been murmurs that there's a possible woman who's in line, or female, who's in line to be the Deputy President of the country. Are you at liberty to confirm or deny those allegations?
The request for postponement is not a decision of appointing a Deputy President of the Republic. It's got nothing to do, because it's only the President who will make that decision over the weekend. What we're dealing with today is swearing in of members of Parliament today. As a member designate, he has made a specific request that his swearing in today must be postponed. It has got nothing to do what position he would have been later over the weekend when the President announces the cabinet.
When will this postponement come to a halt? When will he decide whether to be sworn in or not to be sworn in? When are you finalizing his issues that may be there with the ANC's Integrity Commission? Because that may be, and that's what your statement indicates, is basically the halt of his swearing in today.
That issue is being dealt with internally in the African National Congress, as the Secretary General S. Magashule indicated to you. And of course, there may be time frames, but it's important that we allow him space as a member designate, but equally, as a Deputy President of the ANC. He has made a specific request that allow me space, following my conscience, allow me space to deal with these issues. And the ANC will allow that space. The Integrated Commission is ready. Whoever wants to go to the Integrated Commission, you can make a request to meet with the Integrated Commission. And I would assume that the Deputy President would have already made indication to the Commission that I would like to meet with you. I'm not at liberty to say when is the meeting with them, because that is between the Deputy President and the Commission.
Mr. Goto, I'm going to ask you this direct question. Is David Mabuza contemplating leaving government, leaving the National Assembly, and being full-time at Luthuli House?
The request of the Deputy President is that his swearing in today must be postponed until later date.
As the head of the ANC presidency, did David Mabuza register to be a member of parliament yesterday?
No, the Deputy President is not registered. That's why today he is not been sworn in.
But Mr. Goto, if he plans to be registered as a member of parliament, he would have surely taken the first step yesterday as registering as a member of parliament and then asking for his swearing in to be postponed. He surely could have taken that first step when he came into the registration center with the president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa.
That issue is an issue which is not relevant to the request. The request of the Deputy President is based on an issue that is dealing with on the report of the Integrated Commission. If that issue gets clarified, as in terms of the statement we issued, is that the Deputy President will then come back to this House based on the discussion between himself, the Integrated Commission outcomes, as well as what then would have been the decision of the President. You must remember, whether he's cleared or not by the Integrated Commission as per his conscience, it does not guarantee again that the Deputy President automatically becomes the Deputy President of the Republic. The two are not linked. All what the President has done, the Deputy President has done, is to make a request that can I not be sworn in today to deal with the issues that are arising from the Integrated Commission report.
Mr. Goto, you are speaking on the basis of a Deputy President of the ANC who has not yet even registered as a member of parliament, when yesterday was the last day for members of parliament to register as members of parliament. He did not register. He was here in the parliamentary precinct alongside your Deputy President. He was in your caucus meeting yesterday, yet he did not register. What's going on?
The Deputy President of the ANC has made a request that he will not be sworn in today, and that request has been agreed to by the African National Congress, and it's not the first time such a request is made. Both in the 4th and the 5th administration, there were such requests and they were granted, and those members were then given an opportunity later.
When is he meeting with the Integrity Commission?
The Integrity Commission, I don't speak on his behalf.
When is he meeting with the Integrity Commission? Surely you should have that date as the head of the presidency.
No, they don't report about their meetings. They only report about people who appear before them. That will are meeting, they would be in a meeting today. Only those who have been called to appear before the Integrated Commission would know if the Integrated Commission is sitting.
When President Cyril Ramaphosa, as you say, will make an announcement on his cabinet this weekend, if David Mabuza is not registered by then, does that effectively mean he will not be announced as the Deputy President of the country by the President of the Republic, should he win today in the National Assembly when voting begins to elect a president?
The President over the weekend will announce a national executive. His national executive will include the Deputy President, would include the rest of the cabinet. Whether some members had not registered or not is irrelevant. Whether this issue will not have been completed and finalized at that time is irrelevant, because it's not an issue that requires that first, before you announce a national cabinet, this issue must be resolved.
I'm going to ask you a political question. Is this a shift in political dynamics within your own organization, the African National Congress? You can clearly see that there is a fight-back strategy from those who may have been perceived to have lost at Nasrec against the current. You've got your SG saying that you shouldn't sing about leaders who are currently alive. Is David Mabuza seemingly taking a posture yet again that he took going towards Nasrec of being on the fence and not choosing any particular side?
I think let's leave speculations. Let's deal with facts. And facts from the truth is very important, because you remember what we said both in the 52nd and the 53rd conference. We said, among others, we must find a way to restore the integrity and credibility of the African National Congress. And we resolved in the last conference that our resolution for the next 5 years is to enhance its integrity. When a member of the ANC, in the capacity of the Deputy President, makes a statement that, among others, he would like to clear his name following his conscience because the issues about integrity are very important to him, we must allow him time and space to do that. I don't think we must make speculations which are nothing else but false.
Mr. Gotto, I'm going to take a bet with you live on national television. I will buy you coffee. That's all I can afford. If you win, I'll buy you coffee. Let's take a bet. Who will be the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa? Will David Mabuza be the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa?
The decision who becomes members of the National Cabinet is the decision of President Cyril Ramaphosa.
So you can't say whether he will or he will not be?
I don't think I look like him. Unfortunately, I can't read the mind of the president. His mind or his brain does not leak. He keeps to his decisions, and I think on over the weekend or any time we would know who's a deputy president.
Surely he could have briefed the special NEC on Monday.
No, the NEC does not discuss deployment. Does not discuss because it's a decision of the president.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zizi Gotto. I'm going to ask the DA's Chief Whip, Mr. John Steenhuisen, to just respond to this news story of David Mabuza. Mr. Steenhuisen, how would you respond to the news of David Mabuza not being sworn in as a member of parliament?
Well, it's completely bizarre and it's completely out of left field, but I think there's a saying that a house divided cannot stand, and clearly the divisions that exist within the governing party are continuing to exist, and we're seeing manifestations of the various factions now playing out. The fact that Mr. Mabuza waited till the very day for the swearing in to make this announcement points to me to the fact that there's been some behind-the-scenes machinations that have been going on, and he's been prevailed upon not to stand. What remains to be seen is who fills that position today, and I think that's going to be very, very interesting to see whether A, Deputy President is elected, and B, who that person will be, because I think it will speak very clearly to where the chips and cards are lying in the ANC at the moment. But spectacular reversal today, and very clearly a sign that something is afoot in the ANC.
Mr. Steenhuisen, you as the Democratic Alliance, are you putting any candidates forward for the position of President of South Africa, Deputy Speaker of the House, Deputy Speaker of the House, Chief Whip? Are you putting any candidates forward?
Well, we're meeting at 9:30 as a caucus to convene and decide which positions we're going to contest and who the candidates will be. So I can't tell you at this stage, but I can tell you this for sure. There will be at least one of the positions that's contested by the Democratic Alliance.
Can you just give us an indication of which position you'd want to contest for?
That's for the caucus to decide, and I can't speak for the caucus, and we're convening at 9:30 to make that decision. So once that caucus completes, I imagine it'll be finished very, very quickly, we'll be able to make an announcement in that regard.
If the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, were to offer the Democratic Alliance a ministry and form some sort of a government of national unity, would you take him up on that particular issue? For instance, he may want to bring in some opposition party leaders into his cabinet and give them various ministries, or even the deputy presidency of the country, seemingly, because that hangs in the limbo at this point in time.
Look, I think that's a decision for the federal executive of the DA to make. Suffice it to say that it's not generally our position to go into governments of national unity. We saw what happened in Zimbabwe. I think it's important that you have a strong opposition party that's able to hold the government accountable, and that's the role we are hoping to fill in the next 5 years. But that's obviously a matter if that offer is made for the federal executive. Where I think we could play a role is in parliamentary positions, and I am hoping that the reason some of the House chair positions have been left vacant is that those are going to be offered to opposition parties, because Parliament, the ANC occupied every one of the positions last time, and it didn't work as a parliament, and so we're hoping that at least some of the opposition parties will be accommodated as chairs or committee chairs.
What role will the Democratic Alliance be playing in this sixth administration or this sixth parliament?
Well, we're going to be putting very firmly on the agenda the issue of jobs and the economy, getting South Africa working again and getting South Africans back to work. That's why Mr. Maimane is going to make tabling his Jobs Act the very first act in Parliament, but then also forming a constructive opposition that's able to put on the table workable alternatives to the policies and procedures and laws of the ANC. We will join hands with any party that's committed to cleaning up and cleaning out government, reducing reducing the size of government, going after the corrupt. But we will also stand up very strongly against any moves to limit personal freedom in South Africa and that impinges on the Constitution and which destroys job creation in South Africa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Steenhuisen. That was the Democratic Alliance's Chief Whip, John Steenhuisen, speaking and responding to the news of David Mabuza soaring in the National Assembly as a Member of Parliament being postponed, and yet the ANC is yet to meet with its Integrity Commission with David Mabuza to iron out these various issues. Zizi Godwa, the head of the ANC's presidency, interestingly is saying we cannot link the Deputy President of the ANC to the Deputy Presidency of the country, and also going to the historical context of when Baleka Mbete was the Deputy President of the country and Kgalema Motlanthe the President of the Republic of South Africa. Interestingly there, he omits that was because of a recall after the ANC's 2007 Polokwane conference.
Samgele, just very briefly before I let you go, this statement that was issued by the ANC is issued by the President himself, which is quite significant. And I simply want to quote one line from the President where he says, "I personally applaud the Deputy President's resolve to put the interests of the ANC first." Now, the Integrity Commission, Samgele, was undermined by the top leader of this party not so long ago, Jacob Zuma, when they asked him to step down as president of the country. What does this do for President Ramaphosa's cleanup campaign? How should this be read in the eyes of the public?
Well, Xoli, as a layman sitting there back, looking at politics, looking at the various moves being made in the ANC's National Executive Committee, you can easily see or detect who is firmly in the driver's seat and who is firmly on the opposite end, out of final decision-making powers. If you look at the era of former President Jacob Zuma and the decisions that were being taken in the ANC's NEC and how a former Secretary General was being made to Mandash, history has a funny way of repeating itself.
Samgele Masego, finally to you. This particular decision by David Mabuza, it could be read in another way as well, that possibly if he and President Ramaphosa are still together in this, are allies, if he goes to Luthuli House, surely that strengthens the president's hand at Luthuli's house. He becomes the eyes and ears of the president at Luthuli House. Is it not the case?
It may be the case, and many political analysts, many political animals in the country may read it as such. The only issue, Xoli, is the final act of the day. What happens? What are the political realignments? Because after every election, there are political realignments in a political organization, and you may be seeing such being at play here now. For instance, there's been many speculation about the ANC top six, that it's 2-2. It's Cyril Ramaphosa and Gwede Mantashe together. It's Paul Mashatile and David Mabuza together. It's Jesse Duarte and Ace Magashule together. Even the seating arrangements, if you look at social media of the ANC top six when they're sitting at NEC meetings, that's how many ANC members and supporters are analyzing the developments within the political organization. You look at the relationships of these ANC leaders and how they socialize after hours. You will always find them in those similar patterns of Ace Magashule with the Deputy Secretary General, with Paul Mashatile with the Deputy President, for instance. There have been many instances in this closing of this fifth administration where David Mabuza, as the Deputy President of the country, has gone outside the country, and he has always been seen with the Treasurer General of the African National Congress. For instance, you look at the build-up to the ANC conference and the relationship that Cyril Ramaphosa and the former Secretary General, now the National Chairperson, Gwede Mantashe, have as former General Secretaries of the National Union of Mine Workers, and how they have been together and come together in the trade union movement in South Africa. So that's how many people have analyzed South African politics. For instance, if you look at David Mabuza, he spends most of his time either in Mpumalanga or in Limpopo or in some parts of KwaZulu-Natal. Of late, he's been going a lot to Limpopo and sometimes going to campaign in the Free State Province. The Secretary General spends a lot of his time in the Free State Province, where he was the provincial chairman. So you can actually see the dynamics that are fueling and building up and the simmering tensions within the African National Congress. For instance, you go to this past weekend on Saturday, you had the Secretary General of the ANC, Ace Magashule, telling ANC supporters and members in that province not to sing about leaders who are still alive.
All right.
Which song is currently being sang about a leader who's still alive? He says that particular leader whom you sing about who's still alive may think is bigger than the organization. So you can see those tensions building up and simmering. What will happen? Only time will tell.
All right. Thank you very much, Samgele Masego, outside of Parliament, getting reaction to the latest news that the swearing in of the Deputy President of the ANC as Member of Parliament is up until now postponed.